Hey everybody, how y'all doing? It's been so long, it feels like, since I've been on this channel. I've been kind of using Google Plus as Gretchen's a Squirrel a lot. That's kind of where I've become, it's easier for me to do things. I have finally been able to link this channel and Ruth is Rachel over to a G+, but I don't keep up on those accounts. But at least I can write comments, and that's something that I'm looking forward to doing more, and even getting back to some old questions, even though they're probably some of them 6 months old by now. So this is going to be about the Iveron icon, the Myrrh giving icon. If you remember from the previous videos, I had, the last time she had come, actually gone to every location in my area that I could, because it was the first time that I'd ever had anything to do with something like that, and so I wanted to be able to really get the whole picture of it. No pun, right? But there's a contrast in that it was before I was baptized too, so I'm always at a loss for words with these because they're such ethereal experiences. It's so difficult to take that into words that make sense to any other person. They barely make sense to me because they're just feelings, you know. So I had said, like, kind of as a wish or whatever, that, oh, I want to see her again, which I thought that would bring me to Hawaii or something. That was like my ulterior motive. Lately I've been dealing with a lot of health issues, and so the fact that I found out that she's here was really a good surprise, and I was just hoping that I would be in any kind of a situation that I'd be able to actually go. And that worked out today. So she was supposed to be there at like 2, and you know, I just thought I wasn't going to rush to get there at 2 o'clock. So we got there pretty close to 3, and she still wasn't there, which was fine. And I had a lot of time to, you know, walk around and venerate and just sort of get myself into the pacing of it, and see people who were there that I hadn't seen in a while, and it was really nice. So I set myself up and just found a real good meditation spot, and just soaking it all in. So then there were constant prayers going. There's actually like a 48-hour prayer vigil that's going on in that church right now. And there was one point at which the priest had come in, and then he made an announcement that, you know, how many minutes away it was going to be, and that they were going to ring the bells and so forth. So they did that, and then we all, you know, went to meet her, just how you would any treasured guest, you know, any elder, you know, like if you have an older family member and they get that spot in the table where, you know, it's like this place of honor, you know. So then there was the line of everybody, you know, who was there to see her. There had also been brought over some different relics that came from the other church, and then there was a part of the burning bush that my priest said he had a leaf of that grows in Egypt there. It's obviously not the original, but it is one that's grown off of that one that was come to be known as that. And there was the bleeding gospel, which that's always there. Last year I had talked about the fire at St. Demetrius, and it happened on the date of the fall of Constantinople, and there was something strange about two things in particular. There was only one icon left, and there was the bleeding gospel was charred on the outside but completely pristine on the inside. Well, the only icon that remained that they still had was Barbara, St. Barbara, and he was saying something about how there had been a fire at Hagia Sophia on that same day in history, and that particular icon was removed from Hagia Sophia, and so the similarity of those were just quite odd and striking. So people came forward to venerate anywhere from about 5 of those. I think there were like 5. And then you could step forward, and you could just smell when the scent comes into the room. And people were singing and chanting the whole time, of course. And there were various people who had come from, obviously, Hawaii, Reader Nicktarios, of course. And then there were other priests and other people that came down from Phoenix. I think St. George was the name of that church. And who else? Oh, there was a monk. I think this is a monk that I've met before too. The one that I had talked about was like the most laid back, cool monk I'd ever met. Alright, so I hadn't, and I was looking at the line, and there was like no way I was gonna go stand. So I'd say maybe halfway through the line being done, a man came over to me, and I didn't know what his name was. And what was funny was I had seen the wife of the priest hugging him, and then she saw me, and my eyes, and it was funny because when she saw me, I had actually been crossing myself, and the next thing I knew, he was carrying over the case, that the velvet case that she's always kept in and carried, and placing it around my neck, like indicating, so I put my head down just instinctively, and then before I knew it, it was like, when someone puts a lei on you, and they just do that. So I was just like aghast, and I was trying to kiss it before, he even put it on me. And then he said what it was, and he said, you can hug it, let it drape over you wherever you're ill or whatever. And I did hug. And it was an instinctive thing to do that too, and it was just beautiful. And it really did feel kind of like this amazing comfort. And I don't know. It seemed like forever that I was holding. And I always kept. I saw someone else actually who had taken one of the little cards, and they'd had like the oil on a little cotton ball, and they were rubbing it on their shoulder, so I could tell, that like his shoulder hurt. So the man came over again, and I said, he needs it, and he said, yeah, but I'll give it back to you. And I'm like, only if somebody else doesn't need it. I didn't want to be greedy with it or whatever. But while I sat with it, I did think about every person that I knew, and different things that people were, just different prayer needs people had. Sorry, I've got some stuff in my mouth from sewing. And there were some focused prayers that came forward that I had never thought of before, so those were, it was just it was a great way to just completely meditate out and down. So then, the next thing I knew, he had come back with it again, and he said, come on and I'll take you forward. And this is when it was like 3/4 of the way down of all of the whole line. And I'm like, okay, you know, he's asking me if I could stand and this and that, and I'm like, yeah. So, I mean, just for small bits, I really wasn't standing, I was sitting most of the time. So, he brought me through backwards and cut me in front of a nun. And that was kind of nerve-wracking, because I felt guilty, but at the same time I didn't. And I want to go back to that too. So then I went forward and I did, and I barely, you know, kissed to touch because I just didn't, you know. And then he encouraged me to. He's like, go ahead, go closer. And I'm like, oh, you know. So then it was so weird because I went backwards to the line, and I was flanked on all 4 sides by like monks and priests and everybody. But it was like, you know, one of those, like when you're square dancing and you go, you know, like through a line of people, right? And then it was like 2 do-si-dos or something. So I was scooting one way and this other guy was scooting another way. And, you know, I was like, okay. So then finally I'm standing in front of one of my favorite priests, and he's giving the myrrh all over, and he does all sorts of different patterns. I don't remember them all. Inside and outside of the hand, and then I think the chin, and I think the forehead and the cheeks, and I don't know if it's behind the neck or if there's a throat one. I don't remember them all. And then he tells you to rub your hands together, and he goes, oh my gosh. I think you just never want to wash your hands. So I like only wash my fingertips for a while. And then I forgot this phenomenon. There's always some amount of oil that gets in your mouth. That's the worst, right? The quality of the oil was different, and I thought that was interesting too. First of all, when I was holding the case, the bag or whatever, I know what rancid oil smells like. This did not smell like that, but it smelled like right before that it would, but that it wasn't going to. I don't know how to explain that. And the depth of the scent was actually lighter. It was more of that deep Bulgarian rose more than the Otto. And no extra notes. Like last time, I think I remembered extra notes, like maybe of either geranium or carnation was another one I thought that I had smelled in it. And I remember last time too, I talked about the texture of it. It has that texture that I've never, as an aromatherapist, ever come across. So that's always interesting. Anyways, so got all the prayers and blessings, and, you know, met the other priest, and, you know, everybody's meeting each other up and chatting. And so then I'm sitting there, and someone tells me that a nun has a malady and that she, you know, wants to wear it, and so she's just going to come up and sit by me. So she had actually sat in the wrong spot, and so I noticed it was her, so I motioned for her to come over, and she sat right next to me. And then I took it off and I kissed it, and I laid it for her, and she reacted to it. And the first thing she said to me was, do you speak Greek? And I said, only for prayer. And then she was really nice, and she spoke to me in English. And she was telling me all sorts of things, and it was just, and then we were both singing during certain parts of it that you just can't help but to. And yeah, so I was going to talk about the guilt thing. well, the first time when I was holding it, there was this really funny thought that just raced through my mind at one point. Um, because people always talk about, are they fakes? And yes, there have been ones that were portrayed as fakes, and they were found out. But the ones that, are authenticated, still people want to see, when that it's real. When I went the first time and I was in St. Paisius, there was a nun who I got to watch sit down and meditate with taken out, not even in the raza, nothing, and she's holding the actual in her hands like this. That I can't even begin to describe, except that, yeah, it glistens. It I don't even know. Anyhow, so I had a friend once who told me that he had to have transported one, and that he'd sort of like checked to see if there was some sort of apparatus, and he wasn't able to find it. And then, so that's one of the things that church across my head was, oh, well, of course they're not going to put the mechanism in the thing that they give to everybody so that you can't figure it out, right? So I didn't feel guilty about having that thought, and the reason for that was that when my kid does something of their age and asks me something goofy, all I do is laugh and think it's cute, because I know that there's no harm meant by it. And I love to see his curiosity and the way that his mind works. And I kind of thought, it couldn't be any less, the other way. So, and the other one was, I think I would have felt really guilty and apologetic to people before. I don't know how to explain. Just being given the time to have that blessing, but I didn't, and it was, I mean, I know I was completely surrounded the whole time. I'm not saying I felt alone either, but there was such a clear focus of just prayerful meditation that it didn't allow me to have, the rest of that. So, let's see, I gotta go. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it as far as that goes. I had to leave much earlier than I wanted to, and this is something that, I mean, I was in the hospital last week, and so to even have the choice, once at the emergency room, everything's okay now, don't worry. But just knowing that I had the strength to sit there and go someplace, it's the only place that I've gone in 2 months since I got the first surgery last month. So I felt so much more energy and alive and calm, and just, I can't find the words, so I hope you'll just see it on my face. And yeah, you can watch the website and see. I haven't even checked to see where the placements are, but I hope that sometime, if you have an opportunity, that you'll take that opportunity to go, whether you're a believer or not, just because it's a pretty amazing phenomenon, even just for people's belief, if not for all else that, anyhow. So, my blessing and the peace on your heart. Take care.